This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam, welcome to the Halftime Show on Pulse 95 Radio with your boy Omar Al-Duri. What a special edition we have in show for you today, because today former Welsh legend, Cardiff City, West Brom, and Nottingham Forest striker Robert Earnshaw is coming on the show to preview the weekend's action for Pulse 95 Radio with me. Full hour of us discussing what to expect on the weekend, surprises, losses, things to watch out for, and who better than the man himself to talk to us on Pulse 95 Radio, on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam and welcome to the Halftime Show on Pulse 95 Radio with your boy Omar Al-Duri. What an absolute pleasure to introduce the Welsh legend, a good friend of mine. He scored in all 4 divisions, hat tricks for fun, and that is Rob Earnshaw. Rob, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it. Good to be here. Good to speak to you as well.
Yeah, now I'm very fortunate to be able to kind of have this conversation with you on a regular when we talk football. And for those that don't know, we go on for hours.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice to we're just chatting anyway, like we're in the living room.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Thank you for taking the time out.
We always have good chats.
Thank you for taking the time out, and I see the stuff you're doing on Sky Sports as well, which has been great. How has this season been for you first before we dive into the Premier League?
Do you know what? It's been good. It's been really good. We had a bit of a break in the summer, and then it was just getting back to work, but fresh. So season's been good. It's been, do you know what? I couldn't have hoped for a better start. For me personally, it's been good. Lots of work. I'm on Sky Sports, quite a few times. I'm bouncing here. I'm in a stadium. We're in the studio. So it's been great for that. But also just the season itself, because at the end of the day, I'm working in it, but at the end of the day, it's good to see good football. So that's the beautiful thing. That's what I'm enjoying so far. And season's just started off on fire, electric. I just feel like every weekend there's great games going on. So it's brilliant.
And let's talk about the season. So we've had 4 games for everyone so far. Couple of surprises, couple of not so surprises. What stood out for you so far after the first 4 games of the Premier League?
Well, do you know what? Maybe, what stood out? Do you know, I was surprised, and I'll say this in a way that Man City won everything last year. They reached the very, very top. And if you win everything, sometimes there's the next season where it's underwhelming. It's are they going to be winning the next season? So I am a little bit surprised at how on fire Man City are, because I was expecting a little bit of a drop, but it shows the class. It shows the level that I'm surprised that they've won every game. They've started off on fire, business as usual. So a little bit surprised with that. I know they're that good, and I know they're generally going to win games. But sometimes when you reach the top, you can have a little bit of a comfort break and think we won everything. We're at the very top, and sometimes you can see then the results just all of a sudden you lose one and you lose another, and all of a sudden you're like, wow. So that can happen, but it's not happened. So I'm surprised at that, but brilliant because it shows the class. Surprising, my old team, Nottingham Forest. I think they've started off with a couple of big wins, and beating Chelsea last time at Stamford Bridge. And that's 2 and 4. So I just look at them and think, wow, that is a great start for Nottingham Forest. So few surprises, and I think probably the other one that people might be a little bit surprised but not surprised about is I think how on fire Liverpool have started, because they won the Premier League a few years ago, but then since then just dropped off completely, nowhere near the standard. And that's what I was talking about. Man City's when you reach the very, very top, those next season they become very hard, where Liverpool have found that, and Liverpool have started off on fire. So I think probably those have been a little bit of a surprise, but good surprises.
So tell me, you've played obviously in the Prem, and not only that, you played against these teams. You mentioned Man City there for a second. How hard is it to maintain when you lose players like Gundogan, like Mahrez, like Cancelo, and you've let these players go, right? But you're still only conceding 2 goals in 4 games. You're scoring 11 goals. How difficult is it to pick off where you started with the new personnel coming on board?
Yeah, that's the hardest part, is because very, very specific. Probably Man City and Pep Guardiola are the most different team to play for, because some of the things that you do at a different football club, you do not do at Man City. You have a different instruction, a different way of looking at football, a different way that you would play the same football. You have to have certain things that it's almost like the chess match, and your moves have to be 5, 6 steps ahead. And so it's very, very different. That's why everybody who goes to Man City finds it very, very hard that first season, because it's very different. So when you lose so many players, you have to replace them. And when you replace them, those new faces have to try and pick up. And that's why every player that goes to Man City under Pep Guardiola says, I thought I knew football. And Gundogan actually says this when he went to Barcelona this summer. He said, I won the Champions League, and I thought I achieved big things. And then I went to Man City, and it was like I didn't know anything at all. So that is the level. So when you replace certain players, they need some time to accustom to the new instructions, new team, how you play at the very, very top, handle the pressure as well, by the way, because everybody wants to beat you. And listen, they've started off on fire. It's just like business as usual, and it's unbelievable. But it shows that the amount of demand that Pep Guardiola has on his team, that nobody takes a day off. Nobody comes into a certain game and thinks, oh yeah, we've won that, even after reaching every cup competition last year and winning them all.
Have you ever had that feeling when you've gone into a different club under a different system and a different manager of adaptation? What's that feeling like when you go into a different environment?
Do you know what? It's difficult as a football player, and so my first big move was I went to West Brom. I was at Cardiff City for years, 7 years. Came through the youth team, scoring lots of goals, and there was a certain amount of freedom that I had with the manager, and so it was great. Then I had a move at the time, 2004. I went to West Brom and just going to the Premier League. And what I found was the instruction from my own team and my own teammates and my own manager was very, very different. That certain level of freedom that I needed to score goals was very, very different. So I found those things. And when you go to a different environment, especially when it's the top level, it's the elite, you're going into it's perform or you don't play. It's that type of environment. It's very, very difficult because you're trying to juggle getting to know your teammates, getting to know your manager, getting to know how your team works and how they play best, which qualities, how you play best with certain people. At the same time, you're trying to just play as well and trying to put your qualities across. For example, I was a forward, so I'm trying to score goals. So I need my midfielders to, to see my runs, to see, this is the type of movements I'm going to make. So those things, and sometimes they can't see them. So those things are very, very difficult. So it takes time. So it is very difficult to go as a professional footballer, to go to a different environment. And the other thing that people don't really think about is you're also moving cities most of the time, cities and sometimes countries. So that's very, very difficult. So you're going into sometimes different cultures, different ways of living, and different demands. I remember my first away game was actually at Newcastle when I went to West Brom. We go to Newcastle, and we never trained on a if a Saturday afternoon game is 3 o'clock, there's no training on that morning because it's too close to the game. So my first away game, we're in a hotel, we're in Newcastle, and the next morning we get up for breakfast, have a little bit of breakfast, and all the my teammates are there. Oh yeah, we got to go upstairs, grab the kit. We're training in an hour. I was like, hold on a minute, it's 9:30 a.m. The game's in a few hours. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So that was my first rude awakening, because I was like, hold on, we're training in an hour, and then how many hours to the game? And I'm thinking, that's too close to kickoff. Another 2 hours, we're going to be warming up again. Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense. And to be fair, it didn't make any sense because here I am. We're in Newcastle. We're just about to play one of the big games against Newcastle at Newcastle, and we're training, for an hour before a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday morning, and that doesn't ever happen. It won't happen now. It shouldn't have happened then, but that was the demand. So you go into it, and this is the demand. Go. We trained. We went to and played Newcastle that afternoon. Of course, we lost.
But ask you.
those are the things. Those are the things that it comes with new, different environments. You work a different way at certain places. You work another way, and different things that you have to do on a different football club with different managers. So it is difficult. And when you go and obviously move countries, cities, that's also difficult because you're also getting to know a new place for yourself, just off the field stuff.
Yeah, super interesting. We take a quick break, and once we come back, we're diving straight into it with the man himself, Rob Earnshaw, on Pulse 95 Radio.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam and welcome back to the Halftime Show. If you do miss the show, don't worry, catch all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, or if you prefer a visual, head over to our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio, and you get to see the man himself, Rob Earnshaw, on this episode of the Halftime Show. Rob, plenty of super interesting stuff about how the season's gone so far. And then looking at that, I wanted to ask you, how do you think you would have adapted to a manager like Pep? And does that noise ever get too much when, like you also said, you kind of need your freedom as a forward?
Do you know what? Listen, first of all, I'm a big fan of Pep. Me and Pep actually go way back. He doesn't know this, but me and Pep go way back because when I was watching in the 90s in Barcelona under Johan Cruyff, I was watching. This is probably 95, 96, something like this, and there was Johan Cruyff is involved, and Barcelona are playing. And I see this young striker, Romario. Everybody who remembers Romario, the Brazilian Romario, one of the best goal scorers ever. And I was like, wow, who's this guy? So I became a fan of Romario. But while watching Romario, behind him was a young Pep Guardiola, this elegant midfielder, just passing, you're just splitting defenses, passing to Romario and Stoichkov at the time. And I'm like, I like this player. So I was a big fan of Pep Guardiola when he was playing. Fast forward a few years later, Pep Guardiola becomes a manager at Barcelona. And I was like, this is going to be interesting. This is when Ronaldinho came, to Barcelona. And all of a sudden, he becomes a manager, turns Barcelona into, I always consider them the best team I've ever seen.
Wow.
And at the time, revolutionized football because it was like, whoa, we've never seen this before. We've never seen this amount of tactical detail, but a different way of playing. So it's Guardiola is somebody that since then, I was like, I'm a big fan because I love the way he sees football. I love the way his teams play. They're exciting. They score goals. It's just a high level. And for me, I would have loved to play for Pep because that type of football, it's not just about, okay, you can come in and score goals. You can come in and score goals, but I'm also going to make you better at scoring goals. I'm going to make you think about football in a very different way. And that goes for every position. So I would have loved to play for somebody like Pep because I think I would have elevated myself to a higher level and also improved, because one of the things that I have always loved is, can I learn more? Can I get better? Can I learn more? And can I see something different that I haven't seen, and then be able to learn that? And Pep Guardiola, for some reason, every single season, somehow, some way, always finds a way to make everybody better. He takes the game to a different level, and he's somebody I think I would have loved to play for. I mean, the amount of things that you would have learned is just astonishing. And you see Erling Haaland, there's a reason why he scored so many goals. And there's a reason why Messi scored so many goals, because he makes those players better. The qualities are there, and he takes them to a different level. And that goes for every position.
It's interesting because his relationship in the past with forwards hasn't always been the greatest. And the question mark over Pep's style of coaching and management has been, can he bring the best out of forwards? Because he's always kind of come out and said, I wish I could have 11 midfielders to play. So when I hear you say that, and I hear you mention Haaland and Messi and him making him better, it's a different insight into the game, which maybe someone like myself who studies the game probably wouldn't see like you see it. Has he really taken Haaland to another level, or has Haaland taken Pep to another level?
Great question. Great question. I think he's taken Haaland to another level. I tell you why. Because Haaland was scoring goals in Germany, but he wasn't the most efficient, and he wasn't in a way that he also stayed fit for every game. And I think at Man City, what happened was Pep said, do you know what, this boy is always injured. What is he doing? So he analyzed him in a way of, okay, how much is he running? How much is he moving? Because when you move and you run endlessly, you got the risk of injury. So he said, let me keep him on the pitch, number one. Really give him a certain amount to run. He's still got to pressure, he's still got to work hard, but he's got to work hard in the right way. The only the things that I really, really need. And then the rest of the time, he rests. Because when you rest, you're then ready to go at 100%. And I think that's Haaland. He rests, he pressures when he needs to, but then he rests to go at 100%. And what that 100% is, all of a sudden, bang, bang, 2 goals, bang, 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 3 goals. And all of a sudden, people are like, wow, he didn't have too many touches. He didn't do this and they didn't do that. But then you go, bang, he scored 3 goals. And you're like, wow, I think he's become more efficient, because I think Pep is taking his mind to a different level of thinking. And I think he's taken him to a different level of efficiency, because he's now just a goal-scoring machine. And very similar to, you see, when, like, I watched the Barcelona, and you see Messi through the years, and he's got his 12 to 15 goals, and then he's got his 22 goals, and then all of a sudden you just seen somebody just blow up, and in it's 30, 40, 50, 91 goals in 1 year.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. That's more than people's careers, 15-year careers.
That's more than playing in the park.
Yeah, exactly.
I promise. Yeah, go on.
I just think that he's taken Haaland to a different level, and I think he'll continue to, because I think he'll continue to fine-tune him to make him better.
I promise, guys, this is not going to be a Man City chat. We're talking about the Premier League. But before I dive into the next question, which again, we might go back to Man City, who's the best player in the Premier League? Haaland or De Bruyne?
De Bruyne.
Okay. I knew he was going to say that.
De Bruyne. I just think that I love Haaland. I love De Bruyne. I love watching those. And by the way, there's a few others that are contenders, because I'll throw a few in that pile as well. I think there's a really excellent top 10. The likes of Salah.
Yeah.
Mo Salah, I think he's right up there. We've got to give him his dues, because he's been unbelievable for years. I look at the likes of
Can I throw one
Van
in there?
Dijk even. Go on.
Rodri,
absolutely. In his position, yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think Rodri's brilliant. Rodri's brilliant. And the other one, is, especially after the last year, is your boy, Odegaard. Odegaard is his consistency, what he does. There's a reason he plays every game for Arteta. There's a reason he's captain, because he does everything absolutely on point every single time, and he's playing at a high level. There's a reason why he was in the top 2, top 3 players in the whole season last year. So there's loads in there. We're spoiled right now, and I'm happy about it that we're spoiled, because there's so many good players in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back after this.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam, welcome back to the Halftime Show. Listen, I can chat to this guy all day. You guys are spoiled because we're having a good football chat, Premier League based. We spent the first two segments pretty much diving into Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. So we're going to try and shy away from that now. And I'm going to throw a couple of questions your way, Rob, because I'm really interested to see what you think of the following. One, are Liverpool possible title contenders?
Yes, I think they are. I think they are. What I love about Liverpool is the structure, the demands are the same. High energy, electric football is this rock and roll football, and it's great to watch. And what I love about it is McAllister came in and replaced Henderson. Zoboszlai, this boy, I think he's brilliant. Slightly different to McAllister, but they complement each other so well. He really has a lot of qualities. I think he's going to be brilliant for the next few years for Liverpool. I think those two signings, especially coming in, I thought Liverpool went, do you know what? We've got the right people in here. And I think Liverpool are title contenders. Absolutely.
Okay. How do you see them going up against Wolves as the first fixture of the weekend at Wolves?
This is a straightforward Liverpool win.
Mm-hmm.
No questions about it. Straightforward Liverpool win.
Give me a score.
Wolves, this one is a 3-1 to Liverpool.
Okay.
3-1 Liverpool. I think Liverpool have started on fire, won every game. Won 3 out of 4. And they've just looked as if they're back to their electric selves. 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay, I like that. One of the managers and the teams that people are saying do not underestimate because they're coming for you is Aston Villa's Unai Emery side, right? And I say that in that way because we've had Aston Villa come in, we've had players come in and out of there. We've kind of wondered how this players ended up at Aston Villa. But in the Unai Emery system, it's a bit different. How do you see them up against another team who's done very well so far this season without their star boy, Zaha, Crystal Palace? What do you think the score is going to be between Aston Villa and Crystal Palace?
This is a tricky one because Aston Villa have started off okay. I think everybody's expecting them to hit still the same levels that they finished off with at the end of last season. But for me, this one is a 2-1 Aston Villa win. I think they scrape it just about. I think they're very good. I like Aston Villa. I like watching them. I think they're very, very exciting. They're very good. They always score goals and hardworking. Unai Emery's great. I mean, listen, he took a team in 16th to 7th last year, which is unbelievable and unheard of. So it's been brilliant. But a 2-1 Aston Villa win, unfortunately for Crystal Palace, because I think they've started off as well. Very, very good as well.
How good is Eze?
Do you know what? I think he's brilliant. I love watching him. He's one of those players that he's easy on the eye. His touches, what he's going to do with the ball. He almost slows the game down. The top player almost has his own time. And he's one of those that when he receives the ball, nobody's rushing him. You know, if he needs to come out with something individual, some unbelievable skill, he'll do that. And then he'll go on and then maybe make a pass or go and finish. So I think he's brilliant. I think he's so good. He's I'm glad he's at Crystal Palace because I think from what I hear, his background, he's gone on this journey. He's trying to find himself, trying to find the right place. But I think he's at the right place at Crystal Palace for him to shine because he could then go on and go to an even bigger club in the next few years because he's laid the foundation at Crystal Palace. But he's brilliant. So good.
This one's a big one. And I want to ask you about two things in this one. Man United versus Brighton. Before we dive into that prediction, how do you think the Ten Hag Sancho thing has gone? And is Harry Maguire's criticism fair? Because I've seen his mum come out today and speak about the unfair criticism. What's your views on the Sancho Ten Hag and the Harry Maguire's mum getting involved?
I think first of all, when you're probably Harry Maguire would probably be a little bit embarrassed because you just don't have, you know, when you're a grown man, you don't have your mum come and get involved and trying to defend you. Listen, maybe somebody's asked her, whatever. But you'd rather defend yourself with your performance, with your professionalism, and you coming out and saying what you need to say. You know, especially in that environment because you're in front of the mic every week. I don't know about that. Is it fair on Harry Maguire? Well, his performances have been very, very poor for a long, long time. He came with a big price tag. It's nothing to do with him, by the way. The price tag is nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
But then when you come with the price tag, you've got a pressure on you. When the pressure is come and you have to defend and you have to do the right things and not make mistakes so much, that's been poor. So in one way, it is fair because his standards have been very, very poor for a Man United player. Do I agree with some of the, over-exaggerated stuff? No, not really. But do I think his performances have been poor? Yes, absolutely they have. With Sancho, do you know what? Ten Hag is brilliant because I think he comes in with a certain level and standards and says, these are the standards and whoever's here has to live by them. And that's absolutely fair because he is the manager, he is the leader of the group, and he's the one that says this is good enough and this is not good enough. So I think he's handled it brilliantly. And what he said, he didn't really criticize Sancho. All he did was say what happened on that week. What he said was, well, his performances in training have not been good enough, so I didn't select him. And that is his job. That he's paid to look at the performances. He's paid to look at who's doing well, who's not, and if they're not in the team. So I think it's the unfortunate thing for Manchester United is it's blown up way bigger than probably what they wanted, and it comes with the territory. When you're in the spotlight, when you're Manchester United, things are going to get blown up and things are going to get exaggerated. But at the end of the day, also, I think Jadon Sancho has also come out and defended himself publicly. I think through his Instagram, and that is not a good idea. That's just something you don't do. You don't do that. You go Monday morning. This is what happens. Monday morning, knock on the manager's door and say, "Coach, listen, I heard what's gone on. I want to speak to you face to face," and you deal with it in the manager's office. That's how it should be, not on Instagram. Come on, we're professionals here. It just doesn't happen. So that's not the way to do it. So you better Sancho made a big mistake by doing that. I don't know if their relationship is repairable now after all of this. I think from Ten Hag's side, I think if he sees a difference in Sancho, he'll play him. And I think he's a very straightforward guy that says, you do well, you will play and you'll be involved. If you don't, unfortunately, I'm going to pick somebody else.
What's your prediction, United versus Brighton?
This is a tricky one because I think Brighton have been one of the very best teams to watch in the last year. And just on a high level, I think Brighton are brilliant. And it's unbelievable that a few years ago, if you looked at this fixture, you'd have been like, 3-0, Manchester United win. But now I'm in a position where I'm like, I don't know who's going to win. And how much credit is that to Brighton? Absolutely. So I think this is going to be a draw. I think a 1-1 draw because I think Brighton are brilliant. I think they're as good as Manchester United. I think tactically brilliant. The way they manipulate the ball and tease teams almost, and then punch you with the goal. I think Brighton are as good as anybody. So I think it's going to be a very tough one. 1-1 draw for this one.
See, anyone that doesn't know you will say you're sitting on the fence, but I can tell you firsthand, he always gets it right, which is so annoying. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're diving into more on the Halftime Show on Pulse 95 Radio.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam and welcome back to the Halftime Show. Always a good time here. Always good vibes, good energy with my man, Rob Earnshaw. Rob, we dived into a couple of things regarding predictions. I'm going to throw in a couple before we move on. West Ham, Man City, but West Ham are doing all right this season. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, do you know what? West Ham started very, very well. For their standards, for considering last year, started off on fire. Unfortunately, I've seen West Ham start this way a few times before, and they always drop off. They always drop off. So I don't think they're going to be there in 2 months. So I think this might be the start, because they're going to play a different level of football here against Man City. And my prediction in this is West Ham will lose. I think they're playing at home.
Yeah.
But I think Man City too good. I think too much. I think the way the pitch is so big at West Ham, it's gonna fit nicely for Man City. And unfortunately, West Ham are gonna lose this one.
That's where I met you, if you remember. West Ham versus City.
Yeah. We're at that game. Yeah. We were at that game.
It's gonna be hard for me to say this, and I'm gonna try and say it. Tottenham are doing quite well this season. They are currently sitting second in the league, obviously joint with Liverpool, West Ham, Arsenal. But how good have they been? And especially after losing their captain and a talisman for so many years, how good has Ange Postecoglou done for Tottenham?
He's done brilliant. And it was going to be always very, very hard. And also very hard when you lose Kane. Kane is brilliant. He's one of the very best goal scorers we've ever seen in the Premier League. He's unbelievable. He's just a machine. But when you lose him, what happens? What's left of your team? And, you know, Postecoglou, he, I think, has calmed things down. I think he's also calmed things down, but also said, okay, how is our team going to move on? Kane's gone. He's gone. How does our team move on? Who have we got? Son. I think Son is world class. I think he's unbelievable. I love watching him. I think he can do everything. And he said, this is going to be the pinpoint. This is going to be my figure point here that I'm going to build things around. Maddison comes in and says, okay, another creator, another top player. And they've started off pretty much on fire, to be honest. I still think that the manager will be thinking, there's still room for improvement. So I think when they play Sheffield United this weekend, Sheffield United, I think they'll win this. I don't think Sheffield United are at the level of Spurs, and I think Spurs have got too many weapons going forward, too many goals in their side. I think what I love about Tottenham is they've changed the game. They've changed the way they play. And they play with a little bit more attacking, a little bit more with creativity, rather than, you know, sitting back and we'll counter 5 or 6 times and hopefully we score a goal. That's not the Tottenham. It's Tottenham and more, okay, we're coming here to try and win the game.
I've given them too much time, you know. No, actually, before I move on from that T word, Messi came out saying Romero is one of the best defenders in the world. Fact, or is that just Messi being Messi?
You got to give it to him though, because he sees him up, you know, he's seen him up close, and I would say that Romero's a top player. Romero's a top player. I think he's underrated, and the reason probably Messi says that because he sees how difficult it is to play against him. The problem with the Romero is every now and again he'll get his yellows and his reds, and then he'll be missing, and he'll be considered a big major mistake. But what he does the rest of the time is very good defending. He reads the game very, very well. He is one of the best defenders in the world. Absolutely. I don't know about the best. I don't think he's the best, but he's up there.
Okay. Before we take a break, upset of the weekend. I'm going to throw some your way and you let me know. Is it going to be Fulham versus Luton? Is it going to be Newcastle versus Brentford, Bournemouth versus Chelsea, or Arsenal versus Everton?
Definitely not Everton versus Arsenal.
I think so. They beat Arsenal last year there.
They did, but nah, I'm not having that one.
I hope
you're right. Maybe the upset might be Luton versus Fulham. I think Luton are given zero chance of winning most games. Okay. But I just think if they're at Fulham, little tight pitch, they'll love that, and they'll think, okay, we can beat Fulham. You know, let's go. And Luton, when they go at it, you know, they can score goals. So I think the upset will be Luton versus Fulham, because I don't think most people will have Fulham getting beat at home. So I'm going to go for that one.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Okay.
Salam, welcome back to the halftime show. I can't believe it's almost full time on a halftime show. What a pleasure it is to have Rob Earnshaw on the show, man. Again, we could have done this for 2 hours.
That's a good thing. That's a
Yeah.
good thing. I like that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on the show, man. And what are you up to in the next couple of weeks? What is cooking in Rob's world?
Well, yeah, you know what? I've got some games coming up. I'm on Sky Sports. We're going to be doing the midweek special, so the little soccer special where we break down, what's happening in the Premier League, what's happening in football, as well as we normally in the studio and watch a game on that evening. That's in the next couple of weeks. I'm also working the Man City versus Nottingham Forest game. My old team, Nottingham Forest. Playing Man City. So I'm actually doing some recording with Man City's live coverage of the game that goes out through their platform. So I'm working there, and then got some more games coming up. Doing some championship games in a couple of weeks, and so some really, really exciting stuff. We've also been recording some really cool stuff, a documentary for BBC Sounds as well.
Wow.
That was working with my mum, actually. So that was
Nice.
very, very interesting. Yeah, because she's got a cool background, played football in Zambia, boxing, the whole background of it. And just, I was asking questions that a public would ask, but also I wanted to ask as well. So it was a very nice, almost like kind of like a podcast theme, but it wasn't a podcast. It was a conversation with my mum. So that's going to be out in the next few weeks. So lots of stuff. So I love working with and doing different things. And so I'm busy doing that. So I'm grateful, man. Can't fault it. Can't complain.
Top man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. You've been an absolute star.
Thank you.